Y'all, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Archie Adventures, April O'Neil, the Fifth Turtle. The character of April O'Neil was created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and first appeared in Mirage Comics Volume 1, Number 2 from October of 1984. This version of April O'Neil first appeared in Archie Comics TMNT Adventures Number 1 from August of 1988. This version of April O'Neil started off as a copy of the animated series version of the character. However, due to her frequent adventures with the Turtles, she ends up losing her job at Channel 6 and becomes a freelance reporter. She also trained under Splinter in ninjutsu and katana training and developed highly proficient fighting skills. In the fall-winter of 1994, Archie TMNT Adventure Special number 11 came out, and it featured a story called The Fifth Turtle. April is researching a cure for Splinter's mutation to return him to his human form. She finds a company called Merge Enterprises and discovers that it's secretly been taken over by the Grimm, which Merge and Grimm is, it's backwards, so there you go. And they're just aliens who eat lava and love to brainwash people and mutate them. At Merge Enterprises, she is captured and mutated into the fifth Ninja Turtle, becoming the first female Ninja Turtle 3 years before Venus de Milo. And unfortunately, by the end of the story, she's been mutated back to her human form, but it was fun while it lasted. As per usual, NECA does a fantastic job with their box art, and this is no different. But we're not here to talk about the box. Let's get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about April O'Neil, the fifth turtle. All right, y'all, fresh out the box, this figure looks and feels fantastic. I am very happy to have more characters from this Archie line in my collection, and this is a deep cut that I am very glad that we get, because April as a Ninja Turtle, that's just, I don't know, it feels a little bit like fan service, but the way that the story is and the Archie comics in general just handle pretty much everything really well. It also just feels deserved almost, and I'm very happy with this fresh out the box. But the only thing I don't like is that she looks very angry with the head that they have default on her from the package. Now the box art, I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but the box art has her with the peace sign and smiling and everything, but then it's like she's yelling at me, and I don't know, I'm kind of triggered by that a little bit, not going to lie. But everything that's here looks fantastic. It looks like she's a lighter color than some of the other turtles we've gotten in this line, and her shell actually looks different. It has like a leathery texture to it, like in the way it feels, but also in the way it looks, and I think that's fantastic. It kind of gives the figure a little bit more, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to say. It kind of just elevates the overall figure to where it's not all plastic. Now, I'm sure this is some form of plastic that they've approximated to look and feel this way, but still, the look alone, even just with the way the light reflects off of it, looks leathery and just takes the figure to a whole other level, and that's really awesome. Now, I will say that the only issue I have so far, and this is kind of standard for NECA, is that these joints are like super stuck. Like I can't really get any of the articulation to really work. Just if I can, just barely. But yeah, especially in the arms, it's pretty difficult. So I'm gonna have to hit this thing with the blow dryer and loosen these things up. But I mean, I guess that's better than super loose. But still, I'm not gonna be moving this figure around too much because I don't want to break them. But the figure looks and feels fantastic. The colors pop. It has a nice heft to it like most of NECA's figures usually do. And I really dig this. The eyes look good. The teeth look pretty interesting. They look really straight and white and pretty. So, that's a good thing, I guess. Now, the one thing that I was not expecting was that keeps catching me off guard because my thumb will catch it, is that she has claws, and they're not terribly sharp, but they're enough that they're going to catch on to something if you're not careful with it. So just be mindful of that. But I really like that. That's like a little subtle difference that separates her even further from the turtles and like helps her to, stand on her own. But still, just thought I'd, bring that up. But yeah, everything here looks fantastic, and I am very happy to get into this review and talk about this figure. So April comes with a katana sword and scabbard, 6 interchangeable hands, and 4 interchangeable heads. Now, according to the internet, this version of April's human form stands at 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighs around 125 pounds, but the turtles in the Archie series are listed at 170 pounds, so, probably somewhere in between there is where she probably actually is in her mutated form. This figure stands at about 5 5/8 inches tall and weighs about 6 ounces. Now let's take a look and see how they measure up to some other figures you might have in your collection. All right, here she is with the Power Rangers Lightning Collection TMNT crossover morphed April O'Neil and Figma's Samus. Here she is with Mattel's Masters of the Universe Classics Fisto and Super 7's Casey Jones. Here she is with SH Figuarts Senkocho Seiho Kamen Rider Double and Jada Toys Street Fighter Cammy. Here she is with Marvel Legends Wolverine and Jada Toys Mega Man. Here she is with the NECA knockoff colored bandana Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael and the NECA Return to New York Michelangelo. Here she is with the NECA Nickelodeon 2012 Donatello and the NECA 1987 animated series Ninja Turtles In Disguise Raphael. Here she is with NECA's Bebop and Rocksteady. Here she is with NECA's Catwoman of Channel 6, April O'Neil, and April O'Neil 2.0. And here she is with the DC Direct Batman Arkham Asylum, Killer Croc, and Marvel Select Rhino. Over the years, the TMNT have had many incarnations and eras, etc. Being a lifelong TMNT fan since the 80s and loving practically every iteration of them ever since to, varying degrees, I still think the Archie Adventure series was probably my favorite. It took what the cartoon was doing or trying to do and just did it better. It managed to be fun and entertaining and educational without being too heavy-handed most of the time. One of my favorite changes from the 87 animated series was that April was no longer the typical damsel in distress. This April was a total badass. She didn't take no guff from nobody and was a much better character for it. Now, that being said, I can see an argument for how turning her into more or less a carbon copy of her male counterparts might negate her character development, but the implications of it and its effect on the turtles was neat to see, all things considered. But the fact that it was just a one-off thing that happened in one issue saved it from being a gimmick or too fan servicey. Regardless, I loved seeing it so much in the books and thought it was handled greatly. And I think NECA did an equally great job bringing this figure to life in plastic form. I am totally happy with this figure. This figure is fantastic. I think they nailed the sculpt and the paint. Everything just looks good on this figure, and it looks like it jumped off the page and just on the shelf, and that's what you want. And NECA is typically pretty good at that, and here is a shining example of that. It makes me want to get individual dedicated Archie Ninja Turtle figures, because this one just looks so cool, and I'm so glad we got her in this collection because I just really love the version of April in the books. And granted, again, like I said, this was a one-off kind of thing. It's still really cool to have in your collection and on the shelf because it's a conversation starter, like who's that with the A, and it's like, oh snap, that's when April became a turtle. And I love it, and I love the fact that they call her the 5th turtle. So many other characters have had that designation over the history of TMNT that it's kind of funny that, they just give it that to anybody, whoever gets it, even if you're not a real turtle. I'm looking at you, Zach. But if anyone deserves it, I think April has a very good case to stand on. especially in regards to this version, who's a literal turtle. Again, the sculpt, paint, everything, the articulation is fantastic. I only had a couple of stuck joints in reality. Some of them were, it seemed like I had a lot more than what I thought I did, but I got them to loosen up pretty quickly. And once I did, this figure is just a lot of fun to play with. And that's not always true with NECA. Sometimes their figures are a little bit more like, this is more to look at than it is to play with. But this figure in particular has a lot of range of motion with the articulation and just makes for a very good, fun action figure. I love that they came with all the head sculpts, even though I'm not sure if I'm going to use the crying one because it's a little too sad for me. But I love the mad and the smiling one, and that's really cool. I love the hands. That's all great and fine. And again, the claws kind of get me from time to time, but still, I like that it's a subtle kind of thing that is so small, like it's a fingernail, but like it kind of gives the figure an interesting like element that's added to them that the turtles don't usually have. So I really like that. And then again, I love the texture on the back shell. It's just awesome. I really love it. I like the way the light hits it and how it looks and feels different than the rest of the figure. It's just really cool. My only complaints about this figure are the sword belt clip thing. It works and it doesn't work. I like it and I also don't like it. I kind of would have liked for something that was a little bit more like dedicated, like maybe a slot that's like they could still do the same thing, but maybe make it a little bit more like this is where this goes and it could kind of stay, but you could also remove it. But still, that being said, I still like that we can remove it because I got a few shots of her with the sword and sheath, like kind of, handing it to other people. And I thought that was kind of neat. So I do kind of like that, but I was getting a little frustrated trying to pose the figure and the sword kind of falling out. Maybe that's my own fault just because I'm not good at putting it in the belt, I guess. I don't know. But I'm a little mixed on that. I could go either way on that. But the biggest point of contention I had with this figure was the bandana. Now, your mileage, again, may definitely vary with this because this feels like the hole might be a little bit too tight for what it needs. And so, it feels like the bandana, when I'm trying to push it in, that it's going to break. Like at the parts that flare out of the bandana, it feels like they're going to break off when I'm trying to put the bandana in, because if I don't give it enough force, it doesn't stay. And so, yeah, I could fix it and, chip away some stuff, but if you do too much, then it's definitely not going to work. But so I don't really want to risk that because I don't have a lot of skills in that area so much. But I mean, I like that you can take it out and switch it with the other heads. That's really neat. And it probably saves them some extra money not having to put the bandana on all the extra heads. But I wish that mine would have fit a little bit more nicely or been more easily to switch in and out. So there is that, but that's kind of a minor nitpick, all things considered. And yeah, other than that and the stuck joints, but that's typical for NECA, I don't really have any other complaints about this figure. I had a ton of fun putting them with other Turtles figures. I had a ton of fun putting them with other Marvel Legends and other action figures. They go great with comic figures because, well, they're from a comic, as well as cartoon figures because the Archie line does have that crossover capability with the cartoon lines. And so that's really cool. And yeah, that all being said, I'm a big fan of this figure and I'm really glad to have it in my collection. And I really hope that NECA continues with the Archie line and that we get everyone from it. Fingers crossed for Ninjara. That's holding out hope. This one lady down. We just need another one. And I would also love an actual April from this line, like maybe one like when she's in her like leather jacket, I think it was from the May East saga, if I'm not mistaken, or one of her one shots. I can't really remember right now. Her where she kind of sort of looks like a Disney character, sort of. Yeah, if they can give us that April, that'd be fantastic too. But in the meantime, this one is great and will be a great placeholder until that one. So if you're getting the Archie Comics line, this is a given. You need this. If you collect obscure TMNT characters or variants, then this is a great one. If you collect April O'Neil action figures, then this is a real neat one to have, especially just because the A on the belt, like why did that happen? Like why did Did that mutate too? I don't know. I love that. Or if you have a shelf dedicated to strong female protagonists, then you will not be disappointed putting this version of April, the 5th turtle, on that shelf. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments what's your favorite version of April. Did you like the Archie version or the cartoon version better? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.